You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 27th of October 2016. For copyright reasons, this audio has been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom, with me Tom Cairns, Jack Murphy, Martin Bulbrook and Kathy Daniels.
Good evening and welcome to Formula Tom on Brayford Radio. Joining me tonight is the experience of Martin Bulbrook, Jack Murphy and Kathy Daniels. On tonight's show will be a half and half with our USGP review and our Mexican preview. That will come up later, as well as talking about the title race and how Austin has affected the standings between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Guys, you can be involved in the conversation via Twitter, sending your tweets at Brave Radio, alternatively sending in your posts or messages via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, and we'll share them during the next 60 minutes. Guys, did you enjoy the race last weekend?
Well, it wasn't the most eventful, but it still made a definite impact on the title race, seeing Lewis Hamilton win that race.
Mine?
Yeah, I thought it was a good race. Wasn't full of excitement, but as Jack said, it has made quite a significant impact on the title race, and looking forward to what's to come.
And Kathy, your view on it?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. It wasn't the most exciting, but I do think it was definitely interesting.
How did you compare it to Suzuka?
I think it was more interesting than Suzuka.
Okay. And Martin, we saw not too many things in the race, but we did see some notable things like Max Verstappen's radio sort of rant saying, "I'm not here to finish fourth." I mean, I think as a driver, I think the team were giving him advice at the time, but I think for him to sort of come out with things like that, that was probably from the wrong sort of manner in the circumstances, really, wasn't it?
It was a bit. Obviously, it's race day, you get carried away in the momentum, and he's a young driver and he wants to win. Everyone knows he wants to win. I know he shouldn't have said it in that manner, but it's what he says, and it explains him all over. He says what he thinks.
Jack, your view on the radio rant?
Oh, I think it's just lack of experience. I think he's young, he's hungry, he clearly wants to push for the championship, and he'll get his shot soon, but at the minute it might have just been in the moment, so I can understand why he said it, but probably a lack of experience.
Okay, and Kathy, your say?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just sort of the adrenaline sort of pushing him to say things like that in the heat of the moment, but I think with more experience he will get better with things like that.
And just to take a view on it, Hamilton took his 50th Grand Prix win. Okay, that's half a century. He's only the third driver in Formula 1 history to achieve that. It's his first win since Hockenheim back in July. Nico Rosberg followed him home in second place to achieve Mercedes' fifth 1-2 of the season. Daniel Ricciardo bringing home the only Red Bull in third place, with Vettel in fourth, Alonso in fifth, Sainz in sixth, equaling his best Formula 1 finish. Massa, Perez, Button and Romain Grosjean finishing in the top 10. Well, we knew about Hamilton. We knew he needed to bring a better result than Rosberg, and he delivered just that, but he needs more misfortune from Rosberg if he's going to have any hope.
Definitely. I think if Rosberg keeps his composure, keeps the car consistent, and he gets his second places, that's all he needs at the minute. But as well, that's all Lewis Hamilton can do. All Lewis Hamilton has to concentrate on his race, win the race, and we can have an exciting finish maybe.
And Martin?
Yeah, I agree. Realistically, Mercedes have got the best car on the track, so Rosberg has just got to keep his car on the track, not do anything stupid. If he's sitting third and they look like they can do a pit overtake, don't go for the risky overtake on track. Go with your team's decision. Just play it safe, really, and I think he'll get to the finish line.
And what about Verstappen's? Obviously, had the engine problem, which was sort of subsequent from the pit stop they had, because the engine was sounding a bit rough. But when he was out on circuit, the engine just sort of very much died. And he was saying on the radio, had he had gone full throttle like he normally would, it would sound even more awkward. So it was best to save the engine, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, because I don't know what happened with the pit stop. Obviously, there's miscommunication, but he said he heard a knocking on the engine, and when you listened to it, you could hear a distinctive knock. And yeah, so it is better to save the engine because you don't want a penalty at the end of the day. And
that virtual safety car which Verstappen brought out, which I was surprised he stopped out on the circuit, but it wasn't his decision to. Ultimately, it wasn't his decision to stop out on the circuit. The team told him to. Did you feel he should have gone straight into the pits and not brought out the virtual safety car around Cathy?
I'm not entirely sure if he could have gone straight into the pits because he'd gone past the pit entry when he'd heard it, and sort of getting back around the circuit. I think it would have been it's a lot safer for him just to stop at the side of the circuit, pull over, rather than carrying on as slowly as he was, because that presents more of a danger in the long run.
The engine problem cut out on the back straight though, Jack, because if it went off when he was close to the pit lane, he would have gone straight in the pits rather than just stopping out on the circuit. But he'd gone through loads of gaps where he could have stopped, but instead he started to stop where the sort of reverse Istanbul Turn 8 complex was. Do you think he should have stopped in a gap on the back straight, or do you think it was wise for him to carry on?
I definitely, he should have stopped maybe in a better position, because of course, if there's a car at the side of the road, we've seen it before, that cars do lose control, and that's just a massive hazard for both drivers in that situation. So yes, he should have stopped at a different place, but at the end of the day, he's the one that's driving the car, and he knew what was wrong with his engine, and he knew where he was going to have to stop the car. So I have complete faith that he stopped it where he had to stop it.
Mm-hmm. And looking down the order, Alonso, that 5th place finish, because we knew he started 12th, but in the end, we saw his reaction when he was overtaking. It was Massa, wasn't it, that he overtook, and we knew what happened on the radio following that. That just shows the fire and flair that Alonso still has, even at the age of where he is at the moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. Both of the Mercedes did really well. Button started in 19th and got 9th place. So both of the Mercedes did really well.
McLaren's.
McLaren's. And they did really well, and they showed fire. And that's what we want from the McLarens. We want them to show that. And if they keep improving, like what we've seen here, I really think they can do step by step really well.
And Martin, your view on Alonso's, and not just Alonso, but Button's drive as well?
Yeah, they both had an absolutely fantastic drive. Obviously, Button had his weird qualifying session, shall I say, miscalculated. And I think he came out in the race and was like, I've got a point to prove, and he certainly did, getting up there into 9th. And Alonso, well, taking the McLaren car this season up to 5th, finishing in front of the likes of Williams, Force India. That's a very impressive turn.
Justifying that he can still compete.
Yeah, he's certainly one of the best still.
Over the course of the season, Cathy, how much of the improvement has the McLaren car had? Because we know they don't have the most powerful engine with that Honda engine, but we know that the aerodynamics, like on the slower circuits, it seems to benefit the car more rather than the likes of Monza or Spa, for instance. What's your take on it?
I think the car, McLaren have done better than I was expecting them to this season, and I think it's also Alonso and Button, so because they're such experienced drivers, they're able to get the most out of the car, so they're able to sort of push it past the limits. And when you've got things like Raikkonen, he obviously he retired, and like Verstappen, so when people higher up drop out, then it sort of benefits them more getting higher up in the places. So there's that as well.
And of course, it was Haas's first home Grand Prix. They've got something out of it, with Grosjean finishing 10th. Sorry to see Gutierrez retiring later on, but they very, very much needed that point to sort of cement their stay in the championship. And not just that, but for the sake of getting points, which was what they targeted before the season started.
Yeah, definitely. I think for them to get points again, it's good to see a first year new team back in the points, and hopefully we can see them try and stay in the points, or at least be right up there and fighting for them.
Just going for the remainder of the finishes, Kvyat finishing 11th, Magnussen 12th, but got a 5-second time penalty for gaining a position whilst going off the track, because he overtook Kvyat on the exit of turn 12, but he went off the circuit to overtake the Renault. Sorry, to overtake the Toro Rosso, I should say. Palmer coming home in 13th, then it was Ericsson, Nasser, Bottas finishing 16th, disappointing result for him, with Verline and Ocon finishing the rest of the finishers. So that's 18 drivers finishing the race, with Raikkonen, Verstappen, Gutierrez and Hülkenberg not finishing. The fastest pit stop award went to Red Bull for the second time this year with a time of 2.1 seconds. The fastest lap, as was mentioned, Sebastian Vettel with a time of 1 minute 39.8, and the most controversial driver of the day award of the season went to Max Verstappen. That's the third race running he's been given it. I mean, how did you feel when he got it? Because I was absolutely stunned.
Yeah,
beyond belief.
Yeah, definitely. As we've already gone through, he's young. He's still very inexperienced to be in the seat he is at Red Bull, and I don't want to say it's a downer on his status, but we don't want to be giving that kind of title to such a young, inexperienced driver that definitely can learn a lot more, but has the potential to go and do great things.
I was just going to say, I forgot what it was now, but if you had to choose yourself driver of the day, who would you have gone for?
Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Martin, who would you have gone for?
Yeah, Fernando Alonso as well.
And Kathy?
Yeah, I agree, Alonso.
Okay. Well, we mentioned Alonso, but you've already mentioned Jenson Button's outstanding performance and a great start, which is very nice to see, for somebody to wanting to go out on a high, going from 19th on the grid, disappointing qualifying session, to a brilliant 9th place finish, considering all the sort of shenanigans he had to get through and all the retirements that happened in there about. Just quickly go through the championship standings. Nico Rosberg has a 26-point lead in the Drivers' Championship over Lewis Hamilton, 331, now playing 305. Ricciardo is, very much old, but confirming his third place finish with 227, 50 points now ahead of Sebastian Vettel on 177. Raikkonen 170 and Verstappen in 6th now with 165. Perez in 7th with 84, Bottas in 8th with 81, then Hülkenberg in 9th with 54, and Alonso only 2 points behind the German in 10th spot. Can you see Alonso overtaking Hülkenberg?
Yes.
Can you see it happening?
I think it is. Obviously, Alonso, he's been there. He just goes in, week out. Don't let it bother him. Mm-hmm. It's his job. He's been doing it many years, and he's so consistent. And I can see him taking them 2 points up on Hülkenberg.
Okay. Just go for the remaining standings. Massa is on 49 with Sainz in 12th with 38, and Grosjean picking up a point, but he stays 13th on 29. Kvyat with 25. Button, a couple of points, moving in onto 21, but remains 15th. Magnussen stays on 7. Palmer, Verline and Van Dorn with 1. Gutierrez, Marcus Ericsson, Nasser, Harriento and Ocon still yet to score. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes already clinched this year's title with 636 points with 3 races left. Then it's Red Bull, 400 points. I think so we're very, very, very much looking like the likeliest team to be runner-up to Mercedes this year. Ferrari in 3rd with 347. Force India's gap over Williams has been trimmed slightly, but it's the Indian team that's still in 4th position with 8 points adrift of Williams. Then it's McLaren on 74 in 6th, then it's Toro Rosso with 55. Haas moving on to 29 but remaining 8th, then it's Renault with 8, Manor with 1 and Sauber still yet to score this year. For you guys to share your thoughts from the USGP, tweet in at Brayford Radio or share a message or post via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. And here is your first question of the night, and the question is: which races did Alan Prost and Michael Schumacher score their 50th race victories? I'll repeat the question again. Which races did Alan Prost and Michael Schumacher score their 50th race victories? Okay. The answer will be given to you later after Red Hot Chili Peppers' Danny California. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Danny California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The question we asked before we left was, which races did Alan Prost and Michael Schumacher score their 50th race victories? Guys, did you have a guess?
I can have a guess. I would like to say Michael Schumacher won it in his home race in Germany. And for Alan, I have no idea for Alan Prost.
Do you know, not even like which years?
I could guess around the 2000s somewhere for Michael Schumacher. I'll guess 2001 for Michael Schumacher.
Kathy?
I think Prost, possibly Silverstone. That's just a complete guess. Schumacher. I'll just say Austria because.
Mike?
I'm going to go Schumacher in Italy in 2003 and Prost in America. No idea on the year.
Okay. I can tell you the answer is, for Alan Prost, he took his 50th victory in Silverstone in 1993. And for Schumacher, he took his 50th race victory in Magny Cours in 2001. So,
I got the year right.
We got the year right. Okay. Schumacher broke Alan Prost's record in Belgium in 2001 in Spa, I should say. I don't know why I said 19. I'm getting mixed up between Prost and Schumacher fans, but it's France 2001 for Michael Schumacher, and for Prost it's Silverstone 1993. So very, very well done if you got that correct. It's an early time in the show actually where we need to talk about Martin and Jack especially. It is. There we go. Did you manage to hear it that time? Just about. I need to get that louder so that people can hear it properly. But it's been a lucky weekend for you, Jack, hasn't it?
My predictions are on point this weekend. I've caught straight back up from the where I was a few weeks ago, so I'm really happy from where.
Yeah. How many races is that you've won now in the MotoGP?
I think that's.
Is that 3?
Third, I think.
Okay, is that 3? I don't know which other races you've won. Like I've only won 1 this year.
I think one of mine was very early, and then kind of second one was round the middle, and then this one. Okay,
Martin, not the greatest of weekends. Beaten by your dad again. I don't know what to say. I mean, mine, in terms of getting the number of points that I've got, it's good, but in terms of the ground that I've lost, isn't particularly great. I mean, but you've got more things to worry about right now, haven't you?
Yeah, I had an awful weekend to say the least.
But now, looking at the standings, it's very much safe to say that Mark's Mercedes GP is going to win it, because he's got now a 192 point lead over Team Jedi at the time, so he's moved on to second place actually. But 40 points separate from Team Jedi in second to Delta F1 in fifth at the moment. But 3 races left, anything can happen now, can't it?
Yeah, a lot can happen. As we saw that week, I lost 82 points on Jack, and so 40 points is nothing.
Especially with 3 races left. I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Yeah. And do you know what, Jack? I researched the other day when I looked at your points tally, 185. I did actually research where you were in the World Championship all around the world, and you just sneaked inside the top 100 out of over 7,000. So very, very well done.
Oh, thank you very much.
Doesn't quite surpass Honey Badger GP's Russia result there by minute 8, but nevertheless, it's a respectable achievement. Well done. I mean, I need to win. I would like to maybe win 2 out of the 3 races that are left, but I feel that's what's going to get me those results are my predictions. So because I put Ricciardo and Verstappen as 2nd and 3rd for Austin until the virtual safety car completely changed things around. So yeah, I need to get some predictions right, and I've decided to make a change actually for my pit wall.
Right.
I've decided to take Force India out and put Red Bull in. I know I've already got Ricciardo and Verstappen in there, but if I want to monster my points tally, I just feel Red Bull is the way to go.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So I've got 3 changes. Have you made any changes lately with your pit wall?
I haven't actually. I think I've stuck with my pit wall from about the 4th race onwards, purely because if I move my pit wall, I just know that the week I've moved someone out, they're going to do really well. So I just don't want to mess around with it.
But so, you've got. I mean, how many changes have you got left? Have you still got 8?
Yes. I've still got loads left.
I've got 3 left. Martin, did you make any changes to your pit wall?
I haven't made a change since the 2nd week.
Really?
Yeah. I've kept the exact same team the whole season. It's done pretty well. So
it's just like a football manager, you just sort of you have trust in your players, and you and you just keep them with it. But for me, Hamilton, obviously, I know he won last race, but I just felt I'd like to go for something different and put Alonso in. So I mean, Alonso, had I gone for Hamilton for Austin rather than Alonso, I think we would have got 1 point less.
Oh.
So that would have been, so every point counts for me.
Yeah.
So I want to take this, I always take this very, very seriously now because I'm desperate to win. I'm desperate to win myself. What are you thinking for Mexico then? Because we saw what happened last year. We saw the Mercedes very much running away with it, and Ferrari have their own calamities in their first race in Mexico since '92. What can we think for in terms of Sunday? Can we see any one of the Mercedes or Red Bull perhaps get a podium?
I don't believe so.
No.
My predictions are exactly the same as this week. I'm putting Hamilton top, Rosberg to come second, and Ricciardo to come third again.
Mm-hmm. And Kathy?
I think it will be Mercedes and Red Bull. I can't see Ferrari getting on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Williams? What about Williams? Do you see them getting any closer? I mean, they've been struggling. I think ever since the seventh race of the season in Canada, where they got the last podium, they've very, very much struggled. So I don't know where they're going to end up by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, I can't see Williams getting up there. Can't really see Ferrari getting into it. I'm going to go with the same as I done this week, which was Lewis Hamilton, Ricciardo, Verstappen.
Which I put for Austin, but I mean, I think I can't remember what I put actually. I think I put Hamilton, Rosberg, Verstappen maybe, but I can't. I probably need to update it after the practice sessions tomorrow because the practice sessions are on in the afternoon and the evening because we're from the UK, so the race will be live in the evening. And I'm just looking at the results again. I could probably need maybe like another 150 points or something like that. I'm hoping maybe that Mark's Mercedes GP would not score any, but because he's got Mercedes like I do, it's very much sort of limited in terms of how many points I can actually gain on him. So I'm very happy to finish second considering what has gone on this season in the league. But next year, I know I'm going to win.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because we're probably going to end up with more people in the league
Yeah.
next season, so that'll make it more entertaining as well. I think it's a shame for Honey Badger GP actually, because I'd very much like to see him in the running. I know he came in after the first two races, and he put in that fantastic result for Russia, where he finished in the top 8 in the World Championship but I'm sorry to see him not really in contention to being the runner-up. But at least he's not going to finish last anyway.
Yeah.
Mm. Martin, I mean, what's your take on the situation in the league between from second to fifth?
As long as I finish above my dad,
For Pride's sake.
I'm happy. So I'd like to finish second. Obviously, we're so close, all this next 4, but yeah, as long as I finish above my dad, I'm fine.
Kathy, I mean, I know you're not involved in the league, but did you mention about which sort of 3 drivers you want? Obviously, there's the budget thing because drivers are worth different amount of money and so on. But if you had to choose 3 drivers, considering how much you would believe they would cost, because it's like a £75 million budget. I think Lewis Hamilton's like 24 million.
Yeah.
And I think it's 23 million for Mercedes as well. So thinking carefully about your 3 teams who you could possibly choose, because I've gone for Alonso, Ricciardo, and Verstappen as my 3 drivers, and the 3 teams I've gone for are Mercedes, Haas, and Red Bull. Who would you choose if you had to make your pit wall?
Probably Verstappen, Ricciardo, and Vettel.
Okay.
Teams, probably Mercedes. I don't know, trying to think of like cost-wise how much everyone would cost.
Probably have like 2 lower costing teams.
Because you've got like Vettel, Ricciardo, and Verstappen really. Because I've got Haas, which is only worth 3 million because they're the newest team on the grid this year, and probably like not Renault because Renault from Lotus for where they were from last season they would cost more than you might think, but probably like Haas and Sauer, but. Would you probably go with Haas?
Yeah,
if it's 3 million.
Yeah, if they're quite cheap. Probably put them in Force India.
Yeah,
Something
possibly
like that.
if you got enough, because it's like a £75 million budget
Yeah.
for your team anyway. But maybe hopefully next season, because obviously it'll be a different pecking order for next season. So by the time you've done it, you'll have a better idea with where you're going to go with your pit wall. Did you mention about what your predictions would be for Mexico this weekend?
I think it's probably going to be Hamilton, Rosberg, then Verstappen, I think, on the podium.
Jack, did you say about your predictions?
Yeah, so I've got exactly the same as this weekend. So I've got Hamilton, Rosberg, and
Ricardo,
yeah.
Okay. And for you guys to share your thoughts on everything that's happened this season, or what's happened in Austin, or what's lined up for Mexico this weekend, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio, or you can send us a message or post via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. For now, though, here's your second question of the evening, or segunda, as second in Spanish. I'm trying to think what question is in Spanish, but I can't actually remember what a question is in Spanish. The question is, how many different circuits in America have hosted an F1 race? How many different circuits in America have hosted an F1 race? And can you name all of them? Okay, can you name all of the different circuits in America that have hosted a Grand Prix? The answer will be given to you after When You Were Young by The Killers. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was When You Were Young by The Killers. The question we asked a few minutes ago was, how many different circuits in America have hosted an F1 race? Can you name all of them? Did we have any guesses, guys?
Right, so I went with 4. I'm just going to name the obvious 2, which are Austin and Indianapolis.
Okay.
And the other 2 I'm not 100% sure about, but I'm going to go with LA and Phoenix.
Okay, mine.
I went for 3. I went for the same as Jack, but not LA. I have a funny feeling that Iron Apple might be one, but I think that's only NASCAR.
Okay, and Kathy?
I only know Austin, so I'd hazard a guess at maybe being 4, but I wouldn't be able to tell you where.
Okay, you said 4, Jack. You said 4, Kathy. You said 3, mine. I can tell you the answer is 7. 7 different locations in America. I'll tell you the names of them. They are Sebring, Riverside, Watkins Glen, Long Beach, Phoenix, Indianapolis, and Austin. So those are the 7 races. In fact, America hosted its first F1 race in the early 60s, actually, in Sebring. So if you've got all 7 correct, and you name all of them correctly, very, very well done back out. I'd like to move on now from talking about Austin. Do we want to talk about the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez? Obviously, it hosted its first race it hosted its first race since '92 last year. That was what I was trying to say. But how do you feel the track has developed in comparison to what we saw in the past? Because I'm very sure, your parents have been watching races in Mexico in the past with a slightly different layout, Martin.
Yeah, they have. My dad always used to like the track when, obviously, before it was took out and then put back in. I can't say I'm a massive fan of the track myself. I'm more of a Spa type circuit fan. But I can see the appeal of the track, but to me I'm just not a massive fan of it.
Kathy?
I do like the track. I think, was it the baseball section you said where they go under the grandstand?
Yeah, they go under the grandstand. It's like a little bridge before the penultimate corner, turn 16,
yeah.
which goes into the start-finish straight.
Yeah, I really like that part of the track. I think it's quite fun.
Yeah. Jack?
Well, it definitely looks like a one for cars that like straight line speed, so it's definitely going to help with the Mercedes. They're just going to probably run away with it. Then DRS zones are looking very long, so we're going to see a fast-paced track this year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, looking at the track, I mean, there's obviously 2 DRS zones. There's only 1 detection point for it, though, which is located in the stadium section, so just between where turns 14 and 15 are. The first DRS zone is located on the start-finish straight, so from the grid spots to, just after the start-finish line, on the run down to turn 1, and the second DRS zone is on the exit of turn 3 going up to turn 4. That's where the second DRS zone is. Last year's race we saw, Mercedes coming out on top, which was no surprise. Rosberg, the happy victor, but did you feel last year's race we saw Hamilton go off the radar a little bit because he already had clinched the championship? Because in Austin last year he already clinched it with 3 races to spare, with Mexico being the first of those 3. Did you feel he didn't really give it his all?
Yeah, I think he'd already won the title, obviously that Hamilton that we're talking about, and I think it was more of a momentum boost for Rosberg. I think he definitely wanted it to get the ball rolling into next season, and that's what he's done now, and he's kept the momentum up.
Kathy?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Hamilton, after he won, he did not push as hard, because we saw Rosberg sort of winning straight the rest of the season. So I think he didn't push as hard as he probably will be doing this year.
Martin, what would you say about Hamilton's sort of race strategy last year in Mexico? Because he was sort of arguing on the radio about, you know, when to come in for tyres, but he reluctantly went with his team's decision on when to come in. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember it. Obviously, it was quite a big thing that weekend. I know he'd already clinched the title, but it was quite a big thing because it's obviously he wanted to do one thing, team wanted to do another thing, and he was sort of trying to say, look, I'm the main driver, you should listen to me, I shouldn't listen to you. It turned into quite a big thing. I think it's a bit unnecessary really, because I don't know why he didn't just do what the team said. He'd won the title, he just needed to get the car around the track. He didn't even have to get the car around the track if he didn't want.
The point is though that he's the one driving the car, not them. But they have the data on their pit wall of what the conditions are with the tyres. So,
yeah, I think it needs to be them communicating better. I don't think it needs to be one or the other saying definitely come in now. I think it needs to be how your tyres feeling, how
or
graph,
pit confirm.
Yeah, like we saw happen this last weekend
with
Verstappen, which then somehow that went out the window for his dodgy pit.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that was a pretty good recovery from the Red Bull team to, you know, be ready. But we've seen that so often from the so often from the Red Bull team that not ready, you know, to service their cars. Because Monaco a few times over the years, they were found not ready, because I think twice in the 2011 race in Monaco they weren't ready with the tyres for both Vettel and Webber. You know, this year as well for Ricciardo, which potentially cost him the race win. And the last race in Austin, I mean, it's obviously a lack of communication, isn't it, Jack? Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, with who's to blame, it's kind of on both sides of the coin. You've got the data which the team can look at, but then you've also got the driver in the car that is driving the car. So it's a joint effort of when to bring into the pits to change, especially tyres. So it's definitely 100% due to lack of communication.
Mm-hmm. Because Verstappen didn't alert his team that he was going to come in. Well, just to confirm what time the race is on Sunday, because we go back an hour this weekend, so Sunday 2 a.m, we go back 1 hour, so it's 7 p.m. on Saturday is qualifying for the Grand Prix, with Sunday same time, except the fact that we go back an hour, so it'll be 25 hours later than normal. In terms of the lap record, because obviously it's a different track layout to what it was previously, Nico Rosberg holds the lap record with a time of 1 minute 20.5. The circuit length is 4.3 kilometres with an overall race distance of 305.3 kilometres, with it being a 71 lap race. Quickly looking at the title race before we go for a quick break. You know, we mentioned about the gap, 26 points between Rosberg and Hamilton, which means Rosberg can clinch the title this weekend if he wins and Hamilton finishes 10th or lower. It sounds improbable, but how do you see that happening in Mexico?
I don't see it happening in Mexico, but Lewis Hamilton recently has been having problems with his car. He's come out and said that, but I don't see it happening personally. I see them doing a 1-2, but anything can happen. We just don't know. It's on the day, it's on the teams, it's on the cars. anything can happen.
Kathy?
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that it will happen in Mexico. I mean, stranger things have happened, and obviously Hamilton has had some reliability issues. But I would, personally, I would quite like it to go down to the last race.
In Abu Dhabi, of course. Imagine if it was a repeat of 2014 with Hamilton leading Rosberg, but this time it's not double points. Martin, you'll say on the title race.
I'd quite like to see this weekend Hamilton win it, Rosberg have an engine failure or something, don't finish, and then
brutal.
Then we're in 1 point territory, and with 2 races to go, and that'd be great.
Okay. As we've been showing our predictions and results for the race weekend in Austin and our thoughts for the race coming up this weekend in the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, you can be involved in the show via Twitter at Brayford Radio, along with answering our third and final question for this evening. The question is, who is the only Mexican driver to win a Grand Prix? Okay, who is the only Mexican driver to win a Grand Prix? Okay, the answer will be given after Shares Believe. This is Tom Kent's on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Believe by Cher. The question we asked minutes ago was who is the only Mexican driver to win a Grand Prix? Guesses?
I said Pedro Rodriguez. Not entirely sure where that name came from, but
I have no idea on who it would be, but I do remember a Mexican, quite a competitive Mexican, driving for Ferrari very long time ago, but I'm not sure on the name.
Martin?
I have no idea. The only Mexican I know is Sergio Perez, and I don't think he did. But my parents messaged in and they said Pedro Rodriguez as well.
If you said Pedro Rodriguez, you are absolutely 100% correct. It is Pedro Rodriguez. He has scored 2 race victories in his Formula 1 career for Cooper in 1967 in South Africa and for BRM in Belgium in 1970. So you've got that correct. Very, very well done indeed. Going back to Mexico for this weekend, mention about tyre allocations for the weekend. Mercedes seems to be going a little bit more of a softer approach in a sense, not soft as in the soft, super soft approach, but in the sense of a not so aggressive approach for their strategy for the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, we know that the Mercedes, their cars working the best on the medium tyres, I'd say, out of any car really. Well, they're working on any tyre the best, but they're really making the medium work, which most cars seem to be struggling with. So it's quite odd that Hamilton's only gone for 3 to Rosberg's 4. Hamilton's obviously preferring the soft, as they're both taking the same amount of super softs. So I think, I'm not sure whose hands it will play into. I think it depends on, can the mediums keep up with the same pace as the soft and go further, or will it be the soft has just so much faster speed that is the better tyre?
Yeah, I was going to say the driver going into the weekend with the most number of mediums, which is the hardest of the 3 compounds being used this weekend. For Mexico, it's medium, soft and super soft. Kevin Magnussen is planning to go for 5 mediums for this weekend. Not sure what he's got on his mind. I don't know whether he's going to try and, maybe on the race simulation in second practice, he's going to try and test how long on a stint he can go on the medium. If it works out well, then that can very much become an option for his race strategy on Sunday. In contrast, the Toro Rossos have gone for a more aggressive approach with their tyres. They're going for 8 sets of super softs for both Kvyat and Sainz. 8 super softs, 3 softs and 2 mediums. Because the Mexican track, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and in case you didn't know, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is for the brothers of Pedro Rodriguez, which you've already mentioned, and his brother Ricardo. That's why the circuit is named after them. The circuit is over 2,200 metres above sea level, which means it's going to be very hot, which could, play into the hands of the tyre degradation during the race. So
it could go either way really. Magnussen's taken a bold step with his 5 harder compound tyres than the soft and the super soft, so the mediums. But it could play out his way. He might see that it's working, and all the other cars might learn from this, and so the longer stint might be possible.
Kathy?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's quite a bold move. But if he can make the mediums last and can do longer stints while everyone's sort of got more pit stops with the shorter stints on super softs, then he could benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm not entirely sure how long in like the pits. Obviously, we know pit stops like 2 to 3 seconds normally, but it's just the time of which coming out, going in, doing the stop, driving through the pit and coming out of the pits, because it's a long straight, you're losing more time coming out of the pits and sort of not parking but sort of going sort of sailing across the straight when you've got drivers coming in at full throttle coming down. So you have to take into consideration about which strategy is best and how much further you can go on the set of tyres. Going into last year's results, we know Rosberg already clinched the victory ahead of Hamilton. The top 14 all finished on the same lap, but the reason for that was because of the safety car that came out in the closing stages of the race due to Sebastian Vettel's off at turn 7, which brought an end to his race. So Hamilton finished second, Bottas third, Kvyat and Ricciardo finishing 4th and 5th, with Massa and Hülkenberg 6th and 7th, Perez, Verstappen and Grosjean running up the top 10, with Maldonado, Ericsson, Sainz, Button, Rossi and Stevens completing the 16 finishes from the 20 that started, and then Nasser, Vettel and Raikkonen failing to finish. It was the first time since Australia 2009 that both Ferraris failed to finish the Grand Prix, and Alonso, the other retiree, he failed to finish due to engine trouble. Yeah, I mean, it's very much a different ball game really this year in terms of, you know, who's challenging where, because I felt last year was more of a development program for these drivers to sort out where they're going with their car performance, whereas now they're very much sort of going with a more aggressive approach to the race weekend.
Yeah, I'd say that. Last year, I didn't think that many drivers looked all that comfortable in their cars. Obviously, Hamilton, he'd won it by this point and he was comfortable in his car. Rosberg, he'd had a bit of a up and down sort of season. Obviously, he wanted to prove a point because Lewis Hamilton's gone and won the title, so his teammates won the title. And he looked really comfortable last season, like he's getting all the settings right in his car, he's getting ready, and he brought this on to the start of this year as well.
Yeah.
But throughout the field, I wouldn't say there's that many drivers that comfortable in their cars.
Kathy, how do you feel the approach for the teams this weekend is going to compare to what it was last year?
I think they'll be more confident this year, because wasn't last year the first year they brought Mexico back?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so I think now they'll sort of got used to the circuit a bit, they know more what to expect rather than coming into it completely new. So I think they will be a bit more comfortable and a lot more competitive this year.
And Jack, your opinion?
Yeah, definitely. Well, at the start of the season, we saw that we really thought that the Ferraris were going to try and be up the top and contend for the title, but that hasn't come out to play. And the Williams haven't done as well as they probably would have done last year. But you've got Mercedes and Red Bull that like the track, probably are gonna run away with it this weekend as well. As we've all predicted, so it's going to be one of them. Could it be? Could it not be for most of the teams?
Yeah, I would really love to go on, but we are out of time, guys, unfortunately. Thank you for listening, folks, and sending your tweets and answers tonight. Make sure you tune in next week, where we'll be talking about our Mexican Grand Prix review and how the title race will be shaping up following that. In the meantime, from me, Martin, Kathy, and Jack, have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.